Hour has arrived for our meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. We want to welcome all of our guests tonight, and we have a special presentation tonight concerning our audit that's just been completed, and we'll be calling on you ladies in a couple of minutes to present that. But before we start our meeting tonight, let's stand together and have an invocation and our pledge. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we pause to thank you for your blessings. We thank you, Lord, for the summer rains that you've sent without the storms. And Lord, we pray that each one will be helped in their croplands and gardens and yards for the wonderful rain and the abundance of it. Lord, we ask that you continue to bless our community as we grow together. Be with us in this meeting tonight, that we may conduct the city's business in a favorable way. Go with us throughout our lives. Guide us. In Christ's name, amen. We'll have our pledge at this time. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Our first item of business tonight on our agenda is a recommendation to approve the minutes of our last meeting, and that would be the minutes of the meeting, let's see, I've got them right here, July the 1st. So we need a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Bob Joe made the motion. We need a second.
I'll second.
Herb made the second. All in favor? Thank you. Our second item is a presentation of our 2018 audit that's just been completed by Riggs Accounting Firm, and we have Amy Gilman and Leanne Jones here tonight, and we'll let them make the presentation of our 2018 audit. Ladies, you have the floor.
We're wanting a copy, and right inside a copy of the report is where I put it on 3 or 4 pages that we're going to go over tonight.
I've got one.
First of all, I'd like to start out by saying thank you for allowing our firm to do the audit. We appreciate it very much. I plan on covering tonight, kind of like I have in the past, just pulling out some of the higher points on these 3 pages instead of going over the 50 pages that's in the actual report. So you might appreciate that. But with that said, if you want, the 3 pages we're going to go over, the first one has to do with governmental funds in the general fund, which that's the one that y'all look at monthly and so forth. And we're going to cover the water department, which is proprietary fund next, but the first one we're going to cover is the general fund. And I'm kind of just going to compare last year to this year to see if you're better off or worse, that type of thing. All right, so on this first page, on your balance sheet, you've got your assets, $4,880,000 last year for 2017, and this year, $5,503,000. So you had an increase of $623,000. And so, same format as I've done in the past, you see the number 1 there. And then underneath, I've got number 1, and I've got it explained what it is. So the largest increase was cash of $506,000, and receivables increased to $112,000, which had to do with the reimbursement from the water. But basically what happens there is the city will pay some expenses for the water, and then the water reimburses it. And so it's just a timing thing usually on that. All right, the next line item is liabilities. You see the $307,399 versus the $307,394. It had a small difference of $4.63 change there. But basically what those they stay pretty consistent unless something big's happening during the year, right at year end, because basically that's liabilities at September 30th, 2018 that are paid in like October or before the end of October. So not much change there. And then equity, the $4,572,000 versus the $5,196,000. So it had a change of $623,000 positive. which that is the bottom line for the general fund, the 623 positive. So to get to the details of that 623, let's go down to the income statement. And we've got revenues, 6,946,000 versus last year versus 7,407,000 this year. So we had an increase of 461,000. And so if you look at number 2 there, it'll kind of explain what the variances are there. So the majority of the increases came in sales tax by 185,000, Marion County sales tax 90,000, occupational tax up 172,000, and other various revenues were up, but didn't exceed 10,000 except for the property tax. It went up 21,000. But I did want to note in this area though that police fines were down like 61,000, and they were down last year, and they just increased this year going down. So just that decrease caused extra auditing, which we did extra auditing in that area, but basically maybe some turnover in the officers during that year, but mainly policies and procedures on collections and things like that. So maybe that's where we need to give some attention and come up with some policies and procedures. That was my recommendation there. Under expenses, you got 4,141,000 versus 5,391,000. So you had an increase of 1,250,000. So if you look at number 3 down there, the largest increase was in capital outlay, which capital outlay is fixed assets, big items of 587,000, and most of that was the Grandview Bridge cost, the city's portion of that. And then equipment purchased, like an excavator and then some autos. Let's see. The second largest increase in that expense of $1,250,000 was in debt, the debt line item. And that was due to paying back the credit line amounts. There was some money borrowed on the credit line and then paid back. And the other increases were public protection, $145,000, which would be your police and fire. Public works, $72,000, and culture and recreation, $30,000. And some of the line items that were up in that area were like salaries, repairs and maintenance, insurance, utilities. That was your biggest changes on that. All right, so let's go. Let's see, other financing sources. The one that says number 4, a change of 175 there. And if you look at the detail, what shows up in the other financing sources is loans and transfers. So there was a decrease in transfers of 81,000, but the loans for the police autos and draws on the credit line increased also. So that was your change there. And so then you get back to your bottom line, the 623,432. And so I'm going to get a final analysis for that. Assets increased and equity increased by 623 because of the positive bottom line. So if you've taken all this information that we just talked about, that the city general fund would be better off in the previous years because of the positive equity in that. So, everybody can hear me okay, right? Because I know we were talking about them. All right, so that was the general fund. So let's turn the next page to the proprietary fund, which is the waterworks, and look at it. So if we start at the top with the balance sheet, we've got asset and deferred outlays. Now, what I did on the general fund, that's on the modified accrual basis of accounting, and then the waterworks is on proprietary or full accrual basis of accounting because they charge fees for their services instead of taxes and things like that. But anyway, let's go to, that's why it says assets and deferred outflows. So if you look at 17 and you compare it to 18, you got $12,997,000 versus $12,869,000. So there was a decrease of $128,000. So if you look at number 1 there, to explain that change was the largest decrease was in trustee held funds for $89,000, which is the amount held to pay on bonds. So money got paid back on bonds. That's what that decreased. The second decrease of $68,000 was in fixed assets, which is due to depreciation being reported. Then deferred outflows decreased by $74,000, and cash and inventory increased by $56,000 and $59,000. So that was all the difference that makes up your change there. or the largest ones. And then number two, liabilities and deferred inflows, 2,684,000 versus 2,056,000, so it went down 628,000, which basically, long-term debt went down 625,000 from those 2009 bonds being paid down. So the final thing on the balance sheet is the equity, and it says that there was a positive change of 499,750, which that's the bottom line that the waterworks shows. So if we go to this income statement down here, it'll show how we came up with that. And so you've got revenues, 1,759,000 versus 1,881,000. So the revenues increased to 121,000. And then basically the increase that y'all did last year, you didn't have all 12 months last year, but this year there was all 12 months. So that's the increase in the 121 there, or the majority of the increase in that. The expenses, 2,549,000 versus 2,529,000, so they decreased 20,000. So if you look at number 4, the largest decreases were in supplies and the insurance. And then that insurance had to do with the changes that y'all made in the retirement insurance last year. Because remember, this is full accrual, so we got to decrease how much was expensed on that. Which I'll talk about that more in just a little bit, update you on that. Then non-operating revenues expenses, there was only a $3,000 variance in that, but basically what shows up in that is interest income and interest expense. And then on transfers, 975 versus 1,194,000. If you look at number 5 down there, basically these transfers are coming from the general fund. And of course your transfers for operations, but this year we actually had something else. In the 2014 acquisition fund, there was money spent for the water department to upgrade. And so that money had to be transferred from that 2014 fund to the water so that we could capitalize it and depreciate it. So that's what those increases are there on the transfers. And then you get to the bottom line, 499,797, 71. And you could start with the final analysis there. Overall assets decreased, but mainly it was due to debt payments and depreciation, so you were paying down your debt. Equity increased, but you have to consider that these transfers are coming from the general fund. So, that positive 499, a lot of that is transfers in from the general fund, because when we transferred $359,000 out of that 2014 aid, but then it was capitalized and depreciated over time. So that's why it shows such a big profit there. So then finally, down here at the bottom, it says the water still needs assistance from the city, but the city as a whole is in better shape. But then I would say that the water as a whole was in better shape too. Could it stand on its own? I don't think so. You would still have to transfer money, but it's in better shape. And then the 2009 bonds have been paid off, so you shouldn't have to be transferring as much over to the water going forward, which I've talked to them, and you can see the decrease in it. But as the mayor and I were talking the other day, even though those bonds paid off, some of the bonds on the city side have increased. Not that you borrowed more money, but you're paying back more principal and things like that. So, in essence, you won't be transferring it to the water, but you'll be paying it out of the general. All right, so then the next page, it's just things if I was reviewing it, that I would want to be looking at other than what I've just covered. But basically, I like to know, what big projects did we have in the year. So number 1 there, it says on page 18 and 19 of the notes, give you assets greater than $5,000 capitalized during the year. And so they are as follows, because on page 18 and 19, it just gives you the dollar amount. So I would like to tell you, okay, what were your major purchases on the city and what were your major purchases on the water. So on the city, it was an excavator, 6 autos, fire equipment, splash pad equipment, the rec center upgrade is in construction in progress, and then Grandview Bridge project and the Buccaneer Street. So that was the city items. On the water, drying beds, a track back system, upgrade water tank, and the various equipment. Those were your major purchases on that. The second item is usually what I would want to look at, and it just shows how much the city owes, the city, the city and the water. So I say number 2 there, page 23 and 24 of the notes, give you a detailed listing of all the debt of the city and the water. So if you wanted to look at that later. Then the third item here, it talks about page 33 through 36, discuss post-employee benefits of health insurance for retirees. And remember, that came up last year, and you changed your policies and procedures to account, GASB 75 was coming out, and it was going to make you account for it differently. And so I left that in there, the 2015, 16, 17, and 18, because I wanted you to see, we were expensing 40, then we were having to expense 269, 274, and so finally we got to drop down to 28. But I'm just going to read this last little paragraph right here because I think it explains it the best. It says, changes were made on this item last year because of the new rules for GASB 75 and the increase in liability. The changes by the city kept the liability at $745, $496, so that's what the liability is on full accrual accounting, instead of the projected $2,392,000. This is a decrease of $1,646,603 by making the changes. So in essence, if we had to change something, we would have had to book that liability for $1 million. We'd had to get the liability up to $2,392,000. So we would have had to expense $1,600,000, to get that liability up there. Now, those are all estimates. You have to pay the actuary to come up with it and tell you what you think it should be, but you still have to book it on the books. Years ago, all we did was just expense as we go. But now they say, well, we got to estimate what this liability is going to be and put it on the books. So by doing what y'all did from discussions last year, it really decreased the amount that you had to record. Now, I know that is a very condensed from the 50-something pages that we have there, but I tried to get the things that I would want to, that I would look at really quick, if I was looking at the statement. And so I'm open to questions or comments or today or anytime going forward.
When we style and pattern all of accounting procedures or our collection procedures on our plans, should we seek another city's style, or should we design our own style? What is the
it can't hurt to look at somebody else's to see what they're doing, for collections and so forth. That's a good starting place.
I might want you to just write me a brief letter, kind of outlining the areas that you think we need to
Okay, I'll do that.
look at, and then we'll custom design one that works for our courts, and we'll try to pattern it by maybe someone that's had success. And our collections is what's down as best you can tell through the audit. Is that right?
Yes, and then I think probably some turnover has something to do with it too.
We want to get that back.
But it's, it went down last year and then it went down again this year. And I don't have it right in front of me, but it seems like it went down 30 or 40,000, or maybe 30,000 last year to 60 this year. So I'm like, well, we need to look at that and get something going up there. We don't want it to drop another 30. So.
Well, with your letter, maybe Scott's help, Angela's help to reach out to get enough information together, we'll try to design something that we can give in writing to our departments, and that would kind of follow procedure.
Well, and that's why I mentioned it, because it was down so much.
So we appreciate that. Any other questions, gentlemen, ladies? If y'all would like to ask tonight, want to just review and then if you have questions.
And I realize it's a lot of stuff. I've been looking at it for weeks. So it's fresh on my mind, but if you have questions later, you're more than welcome to ask them. Do y'all like this format? Where it's condensed?
It seems to touch on the numbers, and I think the numbers is what we follow to see if we're on track.
Right.
The numbers, to me, look decent.
They are.
They
They're
could have
very,
been a little better. We had some unexpected expenses during the year with Granby Bridge and a few other things that we didn't anticipate. But thank y'all for the work you've done and the timeliness of it. And actually, y'all were working so quiet in this room, we barely knew you were in doing the audit.
well, now Angela might have a different take on that.
She might could say something different.
Yeah.
We almost didn't know that y'all were in the building, so quiet. Thank y'all for that. It was certainly wasn't disruptive to my office, and all the chats we had were appreciated by me. I thank you for coming in when we needed to discuss an item and just talking about it.
Right. And I appreciate you talking to us too. Communication's key.
If y'all review your audits and have any questions, I'm sure they'd be glad to answer it by phone or give you a text message or whatever you need, what kind of reply you need.
I probably would end up giving you more than you wanted, that's usually my take, but maybe not. Maybe not.
I've got this recommendation to approve this audit tonight. Do we want to postpone our vote on that, or do we want to bring it to a vote tonight?
Postpone it till next time. Well, Greg said that it wouldn't matter.
Okay. All right.
Who said?
The,
Reed Kavanaugh.
Oh.
He said that he could
I'll
use
give you
the,
the audit.
if he needed the audit before we approved it, he could use the one from last year and just substitute this one in.
Okay.
he was hoping to get a copy for the refinance to consider it on the bonds.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Thank you for your time tonight and for the presentation. We appreciate both of you and your firm for doing a good job for us.
All right, well, I appreciate y'all and just anyway.
Then we'd need a recommendation to postpone our vote on approval for the audit till next meeting. Let's change that recommendation.
I make a recommendation.
All right. We got a motion and a second. All in favor of voting on it next meeting? Okay, thank you. Item 4 would be an announcement of hiring a new officer for our city. Mr. David Frazier has been selected as our newest officer to come on our force. And David, we wouldn't mind if you would introduce yourself to the council and tell us a little about you.
All right, I'm David Frazier. I moved to Hamilton about 3 years ago. Next month will be 3 years. I'm originally from North Carolina, so Hamilton's become home to me, and I'm excited to be a part of what the city's doing.
We're real proud to have you with us tonight also. So David will be joining us. He'll be a entry level and he'll be going to the academy. And that academy starts when, Chief?
I think it's the 28th of August.
28th of August. So real soon he'll be going to the academy to become a certified, ACO certified officer, and we're proud to have you on our force, David. And you came highly recommended, and you've got some good credentials that I reviewed on your application.
Thank you, sir.
Looks like a good background for becoming an officer. And I'd like to recommend that we do the entry level pay for David at $15.86 per hour. And I'd need a motion to pay David and a second.
I'll make that motion.
We got a motion, we need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor of paying David his wages? Thank you very much. We appreciate that, David.
Yes, sir. Thank
You are hired.
you. Thank you.
August is a sweating month, you know, that's when they're gonna send you down to that academy.
I understand. I understand.
We're proud of our police force, and we're proud to see you join them. And know you'll do a good job for us.
Yes,
Just for the record, he scored 25 on his ACT test, so he's got a pretty good head on him shoulders.
It may never get it out.
I took it twice, I'd make that much by combining the score both of them. Council, have you got any words of wisdom for us tonight?
I have no girls tonight.
We're proud to see our city clerk back in town. She's been away for some R&R, and she drummed up a tropical storm while she's down on the coast.
I'm running along with it.
Send her off.
Upset to leave and just
Everything breaks loose. July 19th and 21st is our back-to-school holiday tax weekend, and I want people in the community to take advantage of our tax holiday and do a lot of shopping with us in Hamilton. And we're beginning our first Friday events again August the 2nd, and we're excited about the downtown activities. We want people to come down and join with us for those activities in our downtown area, and there will be usually entertainment, good food, a lot of fellowship, and the businesses normally stay open some extra hours to give you an opportunity to come in and see them. So remember those dates, and again, appreciate everybody coming out tonight. If there's no other business to come before our council tonight, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion to adjourn. We need a second.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much. We appreciate everybody for coming.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/49 County News TV.